What's up, everybody? It's been over a week since the last upload, but right now I'm going to hit you with some nuanced content. Obviously, a lot of people might be asking, well, how come Joe Biden is letting this happen to Ukraine? How fucking dare he? Ugh. And look, honestly, guys, I have to explain what the title is, and that is basically that, this Ukraine stuff will not hurt Joe Biden too much, and quite frankly, this isn't his fault. Um, a lot of people that I agree with, I'm conservative, will be complaining that Joe Biden's ineffective and will more or less be like, "Oh yeah, Ukraine's getting invaded, huh? Fuck Joe Biden." Like how? How is that even his fault? And again, I hate Joe Biden. He's a borderline pedo. We all know this. He's a incompetent, demented retard. But at the same time, we have to also not hate him too hard because obviously this is not a fair critique, right? So the Republican platform right now is that we ought not intervene in Ukraine, but we should impose heavy sanctions on Russia. What is the Democrat platform? We ought to not invade Ukraine or support Ukraine, but we should impose sanctions on Russia. What's the fucking difference? The platforms are the same. In terms of Russia, what did Joe Biden do? Joe Biden explicitly said, we are not going to send troops to help Russia. I'm sorry, Ukraine. Okay. Did the Republicans say anything? No, they just said, oh, he's weak. Why is he doing that? And then the populist people on the right wing, the Trumpian people were like, oh my God, this guy, Joe Biden. It's like, why? What did he do wrong? He did what you basically wanted him to, which is explicitly say, we're going to pussy out. You better not do it, Russia, but I'm not going to do shit. Okay, well, thank you very much. We get the invasion finally a couple days ago, and it goes swimmingly for the Russians. Basically, every front moves up. We're seeing a lot of movement and even an amphibious invasion of the big city of Odessa, right over here in southwestern Ukraine, by the Crimean fleet here in the Black Sea. And basically, what we see is that a complete frontal collapse of the eastern flank of Ukraine as well. So basically, the invasion is going swimmingly for the Russians, and we see a lap dance or a victory lap, sorry, of conservatives on Twitter, basically saying, "Oh, Daddy Putin has saved me." And it's like, nigga, why are you living vicariously through Russia, first of all? And second of all, um, how is this Joe Biden's fault? Okay, both. I mean, yes, the messaging is pretty confusing from the Republican Party and the base, but they more or less are malaised by Ukraine, by Afghanistan, and Iraq, and they clearly don't want to intervene in war again. So when Joe Biden lets Ukraine collapse, because that's exactly what the public wants him to do, which is nothing, why are you pissed off? Why are you blaming Joe Biden for this? This isn't his fault. If it's anybody's fault, it's honestly the public's fault. It's just one of the problems with populism. The common man thinks, oh, why are we intervening in Ukraine when we have a border to defend? Nigga, who gives a fuck, honestly? Do you honestly, wait a minute. Do you think that if we intervene foreign, like if foreign diplomacy, sorry, um, were prioritized and we send troops to Ukraine, that means that the border is going to be open? Really? Really? Could we not do both? When Trump was moving troops in the Middle East, thousands of them every other month, and had all this pressure going with Persia, was he not building the wall? He was, right? So then what's the whole notion of if we intervene in Ukraine, the border is going to remain open? Nigga, Joe Biden's going to keep the border wide open, wide ass open, and we're going to lose Ukraine too. Because of smart asses like you. Oh, last time we intervened, things went wrong. Okay, smartass, really? Cool. How about this situation? It's different, very different. Ukraine in 2022 is vastly different to Iraq in 2003, and yet people don't seem to really enjoy the difference here and appreciate the nuance. And honestly, it's very confusing to continue logicking with these people on Twitter. It is excruciatingly difficult to maintain a sense of not being a douchebag when I'm so right, and I've been right this whole time. Neocons have been vindicated. It is so true. Factually speaking, all we had to do was say we're going to deploy troops before there's an invasion. So that's going to be basically a strategic tripwire because Russia isn't afraid of 10,000 US troops. No, Russia is afraid of killing those 10,000 troops and invoking a bigger response from America. That is the whole point. So if we were to put in 10,000 troops in Russia, I mean in Ukraine, that would stop any invasion. Full stop. That would stop it. What would happen is that Joe Biden might look like a little bit of a neocon, but ultimately Russia would back it down and the whole foreign climate would calm down a lot, and then we would have a bigger opening to change things in America. But instead, what we're going to see is populists on the right wing, and I don't even want to talk about stupid idiots on the left because it's too damn obvious and it's too much of a low hanging fruit for me to attack. But ultimately, we have these people on the right wing. They're enabling a weak ass president to continue to be weak. So what do we have going on? We have people in Ukraine suffering, and I don't give a shit about them. But the fact is that we're looking weak. And people might say, well, they're not in NATO. Who gives a shit if they're in NATO or not? There's a basic understanding that the US is anti Russia and that the Ukraine is vaguely in that sphere as well. It doesn't matter what deal you signed. It doesn't matter that if in 2004 we said that we wouldn't encroach on Russia with NATO expansion. Nobody cares about that. Nobody remembers this. Only autistic losers on the internet would know that. Besides me, obviously, I'm cool. I get a pass because I'm a nerd. Anyway, the point is that Ukraine is vaguely American in terms of sponsorship, and for America to see it collapse and not do anything about it, minus some sanctions that aren't going to do much to the Russian economy to stop them in the future, is very pathetic, and it's ultimately going to lead to a lessened credibility of the American government. And it's not to say that we were starting off at a high place with Joe Biden. Obviously, he's weak, but at the very least, I would expect the neoliberals in the government, Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken. You would expect these guys to at least put up a faux pas, like a good diversionary tactic, a good, we're gonna bomb so and so part of eastern Ukraine that Russians have troops deployed in, but nothing. They're doing jack shit. They're doing these sanctions that aren't even that strong. They're not trying to stop the Nord Stream 2 pipeline the way that they should have, with Ted Cruz's amendment to a certain bill, I believe. And ultimately, what's going to happen, my prediction going forward, is that Russia is going to take the eastern Ukraine portion, obviously. You see this big blob of water to the east of Kiev. Basically, east of the Dnieper River, I believe this is, will be annexed by Russia. So basically, this like V shape, this alligator mouth, right? Anything to the right of this river will be taken by Russia. And that'll be about it. I think Ukraine's going to be a rump state. It's going to be weak as hell. It already is weak. I heard Lauren Witzke calling it the Mexico of Eastern Europe, and that's pretty much what it is. And no offense to Spix and chat, but totally the case. I've been there. It is very run down. The Ukrainian GDP per capita is less than Mexico, and in fact, for the people that are saying that Putin's such a great man, Putin's living standard in Russia is literally that of a Mexican. The Mexican GDP per capita is around $10,000. The GDP of Russian people is around $10,000, give or take the oil price any given year. That changes their livelihoods a lot. But ultimately, my point is that these both are shithole countries, okay? Don't let anybody mystify Russia. Russia sucks ass, okay? Their abortion rates are extremely high. Their birth rates are terrible. Their lack of religiosity is biting them in the ass right now. And a lot of the stuff they have going on is rotting equipment from the Soviet era, which goes to show how shitty Vladimir Putin has to be as a leader for most of the good stuff in Russia having to be from the Soviet era. Imagine communists running the country in a better way than you do. And that's basically what you have in Russia right now, ironically enough. And most people do not appreciate the nuance. And so basically, once they take over the eastern portion of Ukraine, we're definitely going to look at a weakened Ukraine, a diet Ukraine, and it'll be more easy to take it into NATO. But do you really want this huge liability, the size of probably Wisconsin or something bigger as a state? Yeah, so anyways, would you want this big of a liability here? I really don't think so. So at that point, I think that Russia would be in a very good position to puppet the western part of Ukraine, take over Moldova, Transnistria. Obviously, they already have this, and they'll have the Black Sea, minus probably just Turkey and Bulgaria and Romania are pretty much irrelevant in this case. They'll have free reign in this general region in the bottom of the Caucasus Mountains right here, near Grozny, Azerbaijan, Armenia, etc. And ultimately, we're going to see a pivot over here to Kazakhstan, and we're going to see them probably expand influences in Uzbekistan, Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. That's a pretty nuanced. Most people don't care. And then obviously, we're seeing a lot of more leverage for the Russians in Lithuania. Wow, I pronounced that like shit. Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Finland, and ultimately that's going to be another issue. Another problem for you right-wing people that are like, I hate refugees. Well, by letting Ukraine be invaded, there's going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people that are going to struggle finding homes in Western Ukraine and will end up in Europe, okay? And that's going to be very bad for the economies of the countries that are going to have to take these people in, given their generous welfare systems and how liberal the white people in Germany, Sweden, etc. tend to be. So given that fact, that's going to be another liability. And some of these Ukrainians will inevitably end up in America. Not that I'm complaining, obviously. A lot of guys idolize these blonde trad wives. Obviously, that is kind of like a mirage, but ultimately, I will take Ukrainian refugees over almost any other type. Definitely better than Syrian refugees or even fuck it, Lithuanian refugees. At that point, I think that'd be like almost the same. So that's not the end of the world, but overall, this video is basically telling you that the right wing has been wrong about Ukraine, and that obviously there is way too much to factor in terms of the midterms. But I definitely don't think that losing the Ukraine war will hurt Joe Biden at all, and he'll basically just go turn around and say, "Well, you guys asked for this. You guys told me not to involve ourselves in Ukraine, so it falling is directly your fault." And it'll be a net wash because basically there's a consensus, bipartisan opinion that Ukraine is a lost cause, and it kind of is. But yeah. Anyways, nuance has been vindicated. Isolationist BTFO, and I'll see you in the next video.